Okay, good Vach, everyone, and welcome. Abzat Hashem, since we are in Hashem moving the clock to wintertime tonight, so the shiurim from now on Monday, all the shiurim I'm going to move to 8 o'clock instead of 9. The Shabbos is going out a lot earlier. And the Thursday night shir is moving to Wednesday night. And Mitzvah Shem will be adding another Thursday night shir. But this is going to be, Bitachon also going to be on Zoom, and it's also going to be Sichos Haran, but it's going to be taking place at the Breslov Shul in Mitzvah Shem and Nachal Achish, also 8 o'clock, around there, And that shir usually comes along with popcorn and potato chips and Coke, so we can send you digital versions thereof for those who want to participate via Zoom. And the rest, you can probably just come over and have a good time. So, without further ado, let's take a quick look at Sipurey Baal Shem Tov. Let's see what's going on here for this week. The Holy Rav Meir Margolius said he's the source of this particular story. He says, once the Baal Shem Tov went to the town of Brody. The town of Brody was a major town, Jewish town at that point in time. And it was, there was a very famous klois there, a besmedrash with very great wise people. It's called the Chachmei, the klois of Brody. And he said he went to the town of Brody and he went through the town of Horodenka. Town of Horodenka, this is the hometown of Rabbi Nachman Horodenka, who is Rabbi Nachman's grandfather. He was the most trusted student of the Baal Shem Tov. He was handling all the household affairs, distributing money to tzaddikim, nistarim, whatever it is the Baal Shem Tov needed done. Rabbi Nachman Horodenka used to take care of these inyanim. And of course, there's a famous story. We're diverging a little bit, but there was a famous story with Rabbi Nachman Horodenka that he was married before, and his wife passed away. And Mordechai of Neshchi is one of the great tzaddikim of that generation. Came to him, to the Baal Shem Tov, and he told him about the fact that I think his sister, I think she also became almana. She lost a husband-in-law, and she was looking for a shidduch for her. So the Baal Shem Tov said, why don't we have her marry Reb Nachman Horodenka, my Talmud? So, okay, so they made the shidduch, and they got married, and right after the chuppah, Reb Nachman Horodenka disappeared. He's gone. Nowhere to be found also. So obviously his fresh wife was devastated. Her brother was like, "What?" And so they went to Baal Shem Tov, and they asked him, like, what gives, you know. So Hashem HaKadosh said, "Okay, I will do." He did whatever he did. He found out, where he was, and he called him. So Nachman Denke came to Baal Shem Tov. Uh, he told him. He asked him, why'd you do such a thing? Desert a wife that you just married. What's the deal with that? So Nachman Denke said that when he was under the chuppah, and he saw Ruach HaKodesh that he's going to have a son, and that son, the progeny of that son, Mashiach is going to come out of his son. Because, however, his wife will have to pass away when she gives birth to him. And he had such rachmanas on her, because a young woman. And so he had rachmanas, on her life. So he ran away. So they told his wife about what he said. And she said, well, if my husband is such a tzaddik that can see such a thing, I'm willing. So and she became expecting, and throughout her pregnancy, she doubted Kodesh Baruch Hu that he should give her 30 days to enjoy her baby before she passes away. And so it happened that she gave birth, and for 30 days she was the baby, and Rahman Denke was extremely upset. He said that it was such an auspicious time in Shemayim, because her Mesiras Nefesh, that if she would have asked for the entire decree to be erased, it would have been. But she only asked for 30 days. And his son was Reb Simcha, Tzaddik Nisa, who is the father of the Baal Shem Tov. His father was, I don't know, his mother died, and his father was all over the place, going and as a messenger of the Baal Shem Tov. So the child grew up in the house of the Baal Shem Tov, and his daughter, Baal Shem Tov's daughter, the Tzaddik Ras Odel, she's the one that, and he grew up with her children. And who were her children? Rebbe of Mezhibos, and Rebbe Ephraim of Sadlik of the Degal Machne Ephraim, two of the greatest Hasidic leaders of the next generation, and the daughter Fega. So one time the Baal Shem Tov saw this child Simcha, and he told his daughter, "I like this kid." So as they grew older, Ras Odel knew who her father was. And he says, "If my father told me this, why do you have to tell me this?" So she said, probably the reason why he did it is, I think the Baal Shem Tov already passed away at that time. She said, it's probably they should make a shidduch between my daughter and this boy. And that's what she did. And the rest, as they say, is history. They're the parents of Rabbi Nachman of Breslau. Ruach HaPeinu Mashiach Hashem. Anyhow, so they went through the town of Ardenker. We also went through the town of Ardenker for a little detour. Anyhow. And he said, he stopped by my house, And he said enough to me, I should come out. When I came out, he said, Mayor, sit with me on the wagon and let's go to Brody, to the town of Brody. So I took my Tassenfil and I went with him to Brody. When he came to the town of Brody, Baal Shem Tov went to the Achsaniot, like a merchant, like as if it was a merchant. And to him, two very choshev people gave him Shalom Aleichem. And I saw that Baal Shem Tov did not have a penny left. And I was very upset. I didn't bring money from home. And I heard that the Baal Shem Tov said to the wagon driver, prepare yourself to leave. So I went and I told these people the Baal Shem Tov is leaving. So since they saw that he was still staying there, he says, in the meantime, we will go to Beis Medrash, and when the Baal Shem Tov will be ready to go, the Reb Meir will let us know, and we'll come. And that's what happened. These were two wealthy, well-to-do people. He says, and so it was. So I told him, and they came. And one of the people, one of the men, gave the Baal Shem Tov the first time what they call a big gold coin. I don't know what's the in other words, something which is very meaningful. And when they came before him the second time, the Baal Shem Tov took that gold coin that he got from this gvir, and he gave it back to them, and he said, 12 small gold coins, zehuvim, from the total value of the big zehuv, gold coin, you give to the people of the klois, because Baal Shem Tov held very highly of them. He said because he saw the Shechina residing on the klois, and the rest of the 12 small zehuvim, small coins. In other words, apparently a big gold coin was 24 smaller gold coins. Give out to poor people. And so I saw the Baal Shem Tov gave, the gold coin to the rich guy. He says, my heart melted. He says, I knew we didn't have a single penny left. So I asked him, why did you give him the gold coin? Your kedusha doesn't have even one penny for expenses. So Baal Shem Tov said, listen, you should know 100%, as long as the Kadosh Baruch Hu exists in the world, we don't have anything to worry. And so it happened. They went to the town of Radville, and people of the town came to get medicines, to get refuah from Baal Shem Tov, and they gave him money. That was the story of the Baal Shem Tov. It's a very wonderful story to begin the week and to schmooze about the whole union of Bitachon, union of Emunah. We take a look at this week's Parsha. Avraham Avinu went, Kadosh Baruch Hu sends him out from Haran, doesn't even tell him where he's going. He just go. And he goes to Israel, and it becomes, there's famine. And everybody in Israel is saying, it's because this Apikoris, Avraham Avinu, that doesn't believe in idols, it's his fault that there's a famine in Israel. So he goes to Egypt, and Para takes Sarah, and Kodesh Baruch Hu, obviously, rescues her, give her back. They give him money. He goes back to Eretz Yisrael. Avimelech takes her. Every single Yeshua that he had was followed with another hardship. And he takes, when the Yeshua comes, he sees things very clear. But then comes another difficulty. Then he goes through the Nisayon of Akedas Yitzchak. And he realizes that, this is it. He has established the shoirish, the root for Nishmas Yisrael forever with this episode of Akedas Yitzchak. And he goes back to Beersheba, and he goes back and he finds that Sarah passed away. And he has to buy, he doesn't have where to bury her. He has to buy the place. He has to look for the place. He has to buy the place with a lot of money. And this Ephraim, by the way, asked for the plot of land, which he just wanted to get rid of it but he saw a good deal as somebody that has money. So, and Aaron insists he wants to give it for free. No, I don't want it for free. So he asks for 400 shekels. These 400 shekels are representative of the lights that the tzaddik can get when they're able to be masig, when they reach the apex of their saga, and the Shin Ein Perin Horin. This is what the 400 shekel represents. And then he has to go through all this rigmarole of getting a shidduch for Yitzchak. And then Rivka is barren. In the beginning, Avram and Sarah were both barren. Now Yitzchak is not barren, but Rivka is barren. So they need a miracle for that. And the entire life is ups and downs. And again, whenever it is that you reach something, you say, that's it. I got it made. Now it's done. That's it. Now I reached, la menucha ve'anachla, only for another, quagmire to be waiting around the corner. And of course, when the pedal hit the metal in the most significant way is Yaakov Avinu, what he went through. But that is the way that Emunah is built. It's a very profound inyan, but it's very, I don't know if it's very, but it's pretty easy to know Emunah, to know Kodesh Baruch Hu exists, to know that everything is a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and you should trust the Kodesh Baruch Hu with everything. But this is cerebral. This is in your mind. This is in your brain. It is only when darkness falls and you get really scared, that emunah wakens. I mean, you can learn Torah, but you cannot learn emunah. You know that the Torah is in the mind, whatever it is, that the bina is in the heart. But where is emunah? Emunah is all over you, but emunah is dormant. It's so delicate that when times are good, you have no, you don't know the emunah. Emunah is awakened at a time of need. This is when you realize that it doesn't work without a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Without you can't get along without Kodesh Baruch Hu. You need him. And the more difficult or unknown, unstable, questionable, whatever you want to call it, the tight corner you are, the more, and the more, more fearful you get, the more you have to lean on emunah. But there is a certain, obviously, crying out to Kadosh Baruch Hu is a shirish of being megadol emunah. Tefillah is the way that you grow emunah. But ultimately, besides obviously the davening, and it's because without davening nothing works. When you are faced with a crisis of any sort, and you look at it, and you feel fear, panic, uncertainty, whatever it is, and you make a conscious decision. I'm trusting Kodesh Baruch Hu with this. It's going to be okay. In the beginning, your heart flutters. Yeah, it's going to work. It's not going to work. Yeah, but whatever. It's going to be okay. Comes the question, yeah, but what about Ishtadlus? What about Ishtadlus, and how much Ishtadlus should you make? The answer is you need to do a common sense Ishtadlus. Whatever makes sense to you in this particular matter, whatever Ishtadlus makes sense to you, that's the Ishtadlus that you need to make. And the reason why you need to make Ishtadlus is because without it, it'll be no Bechira. You make the Ishtadlus, but you believe the Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't need the Ishtadlus. You need the Ishtadlus. So you're able to say, it wasn't me who did it, the Kodesh Baruch Hu did it. And Mimela, the higher the emunah, the greater the emunah, the less Ishtadlus you have to make. The Baal Shem Tov was on that level of Bitachon that they said that there's a Maisa once Baal Shem Tov needed a loan. So he ran out of his house. He went to another house and he knocked on the window. And he said, the Baal Shem Tov needs a loan. He went back home. And the person who lived in the house ran after him. And he asked him, like, why didn't you wait up? He just knocked and said, Shem Tov needs a loan and you're gone. Moshe said, because that's the amount of ishtadas I need to make. That's it. No more and no less. So each one, according to where he is. And the thing is that we don't like these uncertain times. We want things nice and easy, just to flow, as I usually call it, go to Gan Eden in a Cadillac. We want it, easy come, don't have to worry about this, about that. But the more Kedusha is involved in what it is you're looking for, the more menias you're going to get, the more obstacles you're going to get along the way. And the main ishtadlus that a person needs to do is a person needs to pump up his rotzin, his willpower. That whatever it is it's going to take, I'm going to get to that point of Kedusha that I need to get to. And Rabbeinu says that the minute that you achieve a degree of willpower that supersedes the level of the hurdle, now the hurdle just falls off. He says that was the sin of the Meraglim. Well, what's a big deal? So they wanted to preserve their own status or whatever it is that they were looking for. And they came back. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu was so upset with them. Am Yisrael were crying because Baruch Hu says, you cried for nothing, and we're going to give you crying for generations. Why? What is so horrendous in what they did? What they did is they came to Eretz Yisrael, and we already learned, in Torah Tes, we learned that, and in Torah Chof, we learned that the ultimate madrega is getting to that which is called Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is B'chinas Emunah. Eretz Yisrael is Bitachon. Eretz Yisrael is the madrega. When you get to a madrega of Eretz Yisrael, this is when you're starting going from one madrega to the next. That's when you're starting to advance. This is the madrega of Eretz Yisrael. So what they said, yeah, Eretz Yisrael is great. He says it's a land of milk and honey, and here's the fruit. These are all talking about tremendous inyanim b'kedusha. But he says, Efes az meaning their menias are so big that no amount of ratzon can ever supersede, can ever be mevatel these hurdles. They planted a seed of such lack of emunah, such a lack of bitachon, that this is the main apikorsis. The main apikorsis is that why don't you want this madrega de kedusha? Listen, I don't appreciate the value of these things, but ultimately, not only that, but even in Inyana Olam Hazeh, has to do with work, has to do with shidduchim, has to do with marriage, has to do with whatever it is. There is an insidious heresy inside a person that say this is beyond the hurdles are beyond my willpower to overcome. That's the main apikoursis. What is a billionaire? What is it? It's just somebody who has willpower, is that insistent, and is that focused. So he has it. I mean, it says if somebody focuses completely on money, but this is it, he doesn't care about anything else except money, he will have money. You know, you're like drawing it out. Baal will give it to you because Baal gives a person everything that he wants. But you have to want. Chofetz Chaim said when Baal wants to make somebody lazy, he wants somebody poor, he makes him lazy. Why are you lazy? I don't believe it's going to happen. It's not going to work out. You know, I remember Rav Refson that made, I think it's Bnos Yerushalayim, you know, what was the big girl, Balas Tshuva, Moisad in Har Nof. And he gave, I heard a speech that he gave about creating institutions from, you know, Moisad from scratch. So he said that he is super qualified to give this kind of speech because he has started many organizations from scratch. He says many of them came back to scratch. In other words, they didn't work out. But he said the most important, as far as he's concerned, the most important nekuda about starting any endeavor is stay away, people. Stay away from, you know, don't surround yourself with people that tell you that it cannot be done. These naysayers that whenever you say, let's do this, nah, it's not going to work. So, why is it not going to work? Because A, B, or C did it, and it didn't work, you see? Okay, but what about if nobody ever did it? It's double the reason that it should not work. Why didn't they do it? Because it was, in other words, get rid of these naysayers because this is so insidious, meaning the ratzon, the willpower, is not there. Rabbeinu says that all the hurdles are there to increase the level of decisiveness that you have, that this is what you want. This is what you want. That's what you need to get. And all you need to do is just want it so badly until it'll happen. So the question is, how badly do you need to want it? The answer is badly enough until you get it. The hurdles just melt away. This is how badly you need to. Once they melt away, you know that you wanted it enough. So this is for this week's shmooze around the Sipurey Baal Shem Tov, but we're going to read obviously the Sichos Haran. This week's Sichos Haran, we have been visiting quite a few Sichos Haran lately that are, well, I think that the best way to describe them is a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma. So we need to go through them and see whatever it is Rabbeinu says. What we can understand, we understand. What we can't understand, we cannot understand. There's obviously always a kernel of knowledge that we get out of it. So let's take a look together at this week's Sichos Haran, and we are at Sicha number 93, Tzadik Aleph. And Rabbeinu says as follows: Da, you should know. It's an amazing thing that, the Gemara says, listen. The Zohar says, look. Rabbeinu says, da. Because this is already the level of da, says Olam Atzilus. Whenever Rabbeinu says da, in the Kutam Aran, in the Sichos, this is a direct cable, direct email from Olam Atzilus, the realm of emanation. Da sheyesh o, should know that there is a light. Obviously, we're talking about a spiritual light. Shumeir be'elef olamis, that illuminates 1,000 realms. V'zeo, and this particular light, ein adam pashut yichol lekabel. A regular person cannot get it. Mechmas godly, because it is so huge, it's so immense. וצריך לזה חכם גדול שיוכל לחלק אלופים למאס, that will be able to chop up thousands to hundreds. דהיינו שיוכל לחלק האור הגדול, you'll be able to divide that great light לחלקים קטנים, to small parts, כדי שיחלוך לקטנים במעלות, so that the ones that are smaller לקבלו מעט מעט. We'll talk about it a little bit. It says, Rabbeinu says, somebody said a pshat, or chilu gadol, a very, very deep pshat in Gemara, or it says the chiluk between this and that, what's the difference with this and that? And it says, if it's a really great chiluk, in other words, it's very subtle, because people are not able to receive because it's so huge. It says, Muhammad, it says, kechatzi pshat yefshar lakabel. A half a pshat you can get. You have to get a whole thing. It says, however, when you take that pshat and you break it down to its building blocks, and in Yonim, then you are able to understand every single issue by itself, every single part by itself. And at the end, you're able to put the whole thing together. I want to show you how this is actually being put to practice on a regular basis in your life, and you don't even realize that that's the way things are. When you want to be understood, if you take a sentence and it says, I woke up in the morning and I really had a bad feeling about this, and I went out and the sun was shining and I didn't know the bus is going to come, the bus is not going to come, and at the end what happened was and by the time that person finishes a sentence, especially if it's written down, you're like, oh, what's going on here? So what do? You split up the sentence and you build it up, you make it up. I woke up in the morning and I didn't have a good feeling. Full stop. All right, I got it. Woke up in the morning, didn't have it. Then I went out to the street, and whatever it is, and I had the kids. So what you're doing is you're chopping it up to pieces, and what you're doing with the punctuations and the commas and the full stops, is you're telling the reader where there is a comma, you should know that it's a pause. I mean, you can't put a pause in writing. You have to put a comma in there. Okay, now I understand. Okay, now you're going to like deviate and go into a different inyan. That's what the comma is. Okay? It's not a direct continuation of what came before, but it has to be negate to that. A full stop, a period tells you, okay, that's it. Now I have a whole issue in my hand. Let's figure it out. Once you got that, you understand that sentence. So we would take this particular sentence, for instance. Da sheyesh or shumeir be'elef ha'olamis. Okay? We will put a period right here. And then we'll make another sentence. V'zeh or en odom poshet yichol lekabech mas godloi. And that light is so great that you cannot receive it because it's so immense. Okay? We have to put a full stop, a period right here. Okay? Now you know two things. The first sentence told you there's a light that permeates 1,000 realms. Okay. And then you say that light is not achievable by a simple person because it's so great. Period. Got it. V'tzorich lezeh chacham gadol. You need for that a very, very wise person. Sheyochal lekalofim lemeis. Hainu sheyochal lechalek ha'or hagadol lechalokim ktonim. K'dei sheyochlu haktonim yamalu lekablo me'at me'at. You need to have a very great person who will be able to divide, to chop up this message and put it into small parts that the smaller people will be able to grasp one step at a time. And once they know, okay, I got that, let's go to the next thing. There's a light that shines in 1,000, that illuminates 1,000 realms. Good. I got it. It's in the box. And that light, a small person cannot receive because it's so big. Got it. I understand that. And he says, you need a very wise person who will be able to divide thousands to hundreds. In other words, take this huge light, this huge seichel, this huge message, and put it into small, once easily grasped, morsels that can go one at a time. And by the time you finish the whole thing, I got it. You're able to explain it. So Rabbeinu says the same thing as when somebody says a very deep pshat, a big chiluk in learning Gemara. He says you can't get it because it's so big. Because a half a pshat you can't receive. So what do you need to do? You have to divide the pshat and the chiluk. This when you learn nigla, you learn Gemara. You have to divide it to chalokim v'inyonim. You have to break it down to parts and different issues, the building blocks of that particular seichel. Then you can understand every part on its own, and then put the whole thing together. He says, "Kacha yesh or the same thing. There is a light that illuminates in 1,000 worlds. Vehu hasaga echos. In other words, this is one single seichel. In other words, it's almost indivisible. It's undifferentiated. It's one shtick. It's one piece. You can't break it to smaller inyanim. It says, you can't, the only way that you can get it is if you get the whole thing. You cannot get half of it. Okay, I know, I understand half of it. You can't do that. It says, it is one simple, unified, undifferentiated light. Okay. So, we are up to a stone wall. We're talking about a light that is so huge and it's so fisted. It's such a one thing that you can't break it to understand. Okay, I understand half of it or a third of it. You can't do that. It's all one thing. So Rabbeinu says, however, when you find a Talmid Chochem shu noikim v'noiter, a Talmid Chochem that is jealous and keeps that jealousy. He's upset. If somebody upsets him, he remembers it and he takes revenge. Sasha Talmid Chochem hu yechol lechalek alofim l'meyos. He can possibly take alofim. Ultimately, what is alofim? Alofim is aleph. It's one. It's alufa shel olam, undifferentiated. Lechalek alofim l'meyos. What does it mean? Dehainu lachloik ha'ora godona, to take the great light and to divide it into small parts. Right? People will be able to receive it and to understand it, as we gave the mashal before. That in the dafka, such a vengeful Talmid Chochem, Yechol Chalek Alofim Lameyas, it can divide the thousands to hundreds. Ukmo shekatuv in Mishlei, V'shoyne v'dover mafrid olav. V'shoyne v'dover, somebody who is learning the dover, mafrid olav, is separates the olive. Rashi says, the hainu noikim v'noiter. In other words, he's vengeful. And he keeps on keeping in mind what that thing that his friend did to him. Ultimately, if it's done regularly by a normal person, he's actually separating HaKadosh Baruch Hu from the world. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu made this friend do this thing to you, there's a reason why he did it. If you're upset with your friend and you cannot forgive him, that means you're not really one with the idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu did it to you. You think it's your friend. So, he says, this is by a regular person. Aval Talmid Chochem, however, a Talmid Chochem, tzarich dai kaliyot noikim v'noichli, dafka has to be vengeful. As Chazal said, Kol Talmid Chochem she'eino noikim v'noiter, and he says, you should not learn by him. He says, but the parish of this pasuk is as follows: Talmid Chochem that is noikim v'noiter, who is vengeful, Yechol lechalek alofim l'meyos, he can divide the alofim, the undifferentiated, the aleph, into meyos. In other words, into plurality. V'shoyne badover. What does it mean? Hainu noikim v'noiter mafrid aleph. That he's vengeful, and he is able to separate the aleph. In other words, he is able to separate and divide the alofim and make meyas out of them, make hundreds out of them. In other words, pieces that are graspable. That's what Chazal said. If you saw a Talmid Chochem that is vengeful like a snake, wrap him around your midsection, wear him like a belt. At the end, you will enjoy his Talmud. You will enjoy him. He has something to give you that other, these really easygoing, loosey-goosey kind of this, you won't get him from them. From him, you will get. What is it? But because he is vengeful, this is the ability that enables him to divide the alofim, the undifferentiated, l'meyas. And being that he's able to, to divide the great light into smaller pieces, that you are able to understand each piece and ultimately grasp the whole thing, this is how you can enjoy his Talmud. The kabel mimenu, you can receive from the kibli zeh, without that ability to differentiate that undifferentiated, the aleph, and break it into meyas, you won't be able to learn. You won't be able to understand what he's talking about. Machmas godel haor, because the light is so great. However, says Rabbeinu, aval hatzechel ve'atam shel inyan zeh, the reason of this particular issue, mipnei ma mishu nokem v'noisa, why is somebody who is vengeful yichalek alofim l'meyas? Why is it that dafka somebody who is vengeful, he's able to separate alofim l'meyas? Ze omoik omoik. This is an extremely, extremely deep issue. As we said before, a riddle in a mystery wrapped in an enigma. Extremely deep inyan. Veda, and Rabbeinu adds here an amazing piece of information. Misha de Azois, a person that understands why somebody who is nokim v'noiter, somebody who is vengeful, is able to take this unbelievably fisted notion and break it down to pieces so other people can understand. Anybody who understands why, what's the connection between the two, is able to revive the dead. It's quite an ability. It says tzaddikim know how to revive the dead. In fact, anybody who is mentioned in the Gemara had that ability to revive a dead person. He knows what a dead person is. Because in that he divides the alofim into meyes. He does an incredible thing. He's not just dividing the meyes. The alofim do not exist anymore. No. He takes that seichel that is encapsulated and completely fisted and undifferentiated, and he enters it into the meyes. He's packing the meyes with the alofim. And this is why when you know all the meyes, you understand the aleph. You understand that? He says, when you are mamshich the alofim l'toch meyes, al deze nasa mimoves meyes. What's the difference between the letter maves, la aleinu, to meyes, hundreds? What's the difference? The difference is this. Meyes is maves with an aleph in it. He's able to mamshech into maves, into death, the aleph. By the fact that the alofim enter this. And just in case you found what we went through so far somewhat profound and difficult to wrap your mind around, let's go a little bit deeper. Rabbeinu puts a few more mysteries, and he says all these things are tied together. And he says, so whoever knows it can revive the dead. Whoever doesn't know it, he has no idea why he's happy now. That's one thing he doesn't know. He doesn't know what is the unification, the divination of Baruch Shem Kol Malchus. And and he doesn't know what's that issue of tzikik deira. we'll explain this a little minute. It's Rabbeinu Sal in Psochim. There is a mashal to a princess that smelled tzikik deira. What is tzikik deira? You know, when you have a pot of chont and the bottom is burnt, and the princess smelled it, and she gets a duda for it. She wants it. She gets a craving. She wants to have the burnt part inside the bottom of the cholent pot. So a timer, if people say, you know something, the princess wants some of the burnt bottom of the cholent. Yes, like nay. You know, if a princess to want such a thing, it's a busha. Loi timer. If she's not going to say anything, she has a tzah because she has a craving. This is said about the Yichov of Shema Yisrael in Baruch Shem Kvanchus Elolam Voed. Shema Yisrael is the Malchus, that's the princess. It means everything is one, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is one. Baruch Shem Kvad Malchus Elolam Voed is talking about the Kadosh Baruch Hu is in this world. It fills up this world. Kadosh Baruch Hu should fill up this world. This world is constricted. It's a busha with it. The echad will be into little pieces. Yeah, but Kadosh Baruch Hu wants it. He wants it. This world is like a burnt bottom of a cholent pot. So Baruch Shem Kvad Malchus Elolam Voed is the bottom of the cholent pot. So to say it out loud, like we say in Yom Kippur, all year long is a busha. The Melech Machan Lachim, the Echad, wants to be in little pieces. So he says, Lo Tomar, so Toimar, if you say it out loud, it's a busha for Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's a shlagnai. But if you don't say, Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to have a tsar. So what do? We whisper it. That's the one thing you don't know. Another thing you don't know, you don't know what is the first two letters of the word chashmal. Chashmal is basically made of two words. Chash means silent. Mal means talking. It comes from the vision of Yecheskel. It says, Chayos Eish Memalalos. Chashmal. It's a talking silence. In other words, it's a contradiction in the definition. When you're there, Mazu Noga, and doesn't know what the Noga is, a Klipas Noga. As it said in Yecheskel, in the vision of the chariot, V'Noga Losaviv. But that's not all he doesn't know. Ve'en yodea ma'aseh merkava, that's the vision of the chariot. Ve'ino yodea ma'u bris, and he doesn't know what a covenant is. Ve'eno yodea mipnei macholkim alav, and he has no idea why people argue with him and dispute him. What's going on? What did I do? I don't understand. U'Mashiach yodea kol ha'inyan zeh b'shleimus. Mashiach knows all this inyan perfectly. He knows it all the time. Aval the tzaddikim, einam yodim elek shosim me'alofim meis. Only when they are able to take alofim, undifferentiated seichel, and break it down to meis, then they can get this inyanim. These tzaddikim that are vengeful, they can do from Alof and Meis, they are the belt of Mashiach. As Chazal said, if you have found Talmid Chochem that is vengeful and like a snake, wear him around your belt, your midsection. Hainu b'chinas chagor leMashiach. Shene'emar b'bat Mashiach, it is said, Vayat tzedek ezo mosnov. Tzedek, righteousness, justice will be the mid-garment, the belt of Mashiach. And what the Targum says? V'yehon tzadikaya, the tzadikim will be schor, they're going to be all around him. Hainu, matin. What is matin? Meyes. Hundreds. Well, now I know what's a matin. Matin also means dead. Deceased. Hainu meyes. And anybody who can divide the 1,000 into hundreds, they are the belt of Mashiach. Be'el tzadikim, mechayim es tzadikim aktanim. They are giving the life to those that are smaller tzadikim, and when they teach them the Torah, they're giving them life. Okay. If you got it, more power to you. You're a bigger man than I am. I don't know what Rabbeinu is saying here, but Baruch Hashem, ashrei us that we lived in this world, and while we're in this world, we went through, our minds, when our neshamas went through this incredibly holy Diborim. I want to wish you all a fantastic week. Don't forget to move your clock tonight, Mitzvah Shem Monday night and Wednesday night, and Motzei Shabbos we are starting at 8 o'clock instead of 9 o'clock. Everything is moving to 9 o'clock. Again, I repeat, in Mitzvah Shem on Thursday there will be a Shir Likutei Moharan in the Breslov of the Shul, and what I'll try to do is I'm going to see where it is that we started the Zoom Shur, and we will go back to that Torah then. So basically, anybody who's interested is going to have 2 Shurim of Likutei Moharan a week, 2 separate Torahs. We're going to continue Wednesday, Torah Chav Beis 22, and Thursday, I'll find out what it is, the last thing that we learned, and we'll go there. Everything Mitzvah Shem, 8 o'clock. Thank you very much, and have a fantastic week. Have a great time. And Shem be with you.